Three, two, one, and we're rolling. Welcome back, Nick. How you doing?
Hello, Daniel. It's great to chat again. And hello to everyone who's listening.
Where is your main hat that you usually wear on my podcast? The one that looks like you Edward Snowden in his bunker.
Not yet. It's too warm.
Okay.
I'm just hiding my baldness from everyone.
Oh man, we like it. We like it. That's the reason why we have you on the show, is to show everyone your new haircut every week.
Oh, really?
Um,
Well, I hide it because I need to actually go and have a shave. Sometimes you can see the hair is getting a bit too much.
Okay. I'm just putting up this volume quickly, and I think we're ready to go. So my last podcast, I just talked a bunch of nonsense with BT, and that was about football.
Hey,
Today...
who's going to win the league this year?
Say again, Nick?
Who's going to win the league this year?
Well, we spoke about PSL mostly, but I did throw in Arsenal there just to piss him off. I think it's between Spurs, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I don't think City's got a shot. Who do you think?
Yeah, I don't think Chelsea. I think it'll be Spurs or Liverpool. Be nice if Spurs win it. I don't think my one team has a chance either. We're too inconsistent.
You know what? Hey, I don't hate Spurs the same way that I hate United and City and Arsenal. I just don't hate Spurs. I do have one very annoying friend who supports Spurs. How's it, Jack? But he's not actually even as annoying as I am. So I'll give him a pass this year. And if they won it, I'd be happy for him. Yeah. I mean, he was happy for me.
I can't imagine how insufferable you were last year.
And still.
Oh.
I mean, you found me on Facebook a few times.
It took you 30 years, but well done. You guys deserved it.
Yes, thank you. And eventually we had to do it in front of no fans. So if you don't mind, the pandemic and the lockdown forced us to do it in an empty stadium. But we'll take it. Thank you, Nick. Nick is our political correspondent, and we're going to talk a little bit about he who shall not be named versus Joe Biden in the US election. I don't like saying Donald Trump because I can feel my subscribers going down, even though there is only about 80 of them anyway. But having guys like you on, Nick, always helps with my subscribers, and people like hearing from you. So what did you think about... And also, by the way, just so the Juice Ready listeners can understand something, Nick is a little upset with me because we did do an episode about red versus blue states, and the sound was a scratch, so I had to throw that in.
I'm not. I wasn't upset with you. It was
Okay.
These mistakes happen.
And then, yeah, so at least that mistake is now in the bag. We've done that on my other podcast, the sports podcast. So now we've done one on Juice Ready, and that's that. Now we'll check the sound every time thoroughly. And then I also got involved in work last week and didn't meet Nick at the right time. So Nick is fuming, guys. Nick is fuming.
Yeah, I'm gonna make Daniel. I'm never gonna forgive him. It's the last podcast ever.
So what did you think about the election overall? I mean, you did predict it, that it was going to go the way of the Democrats. And what do you think is happening now in the aftermath?
Well, I mean, besides the point that the current president hasn't conceded officially yet, the entire process of changing administrations has begun. We will have President Biden in January, assuming the Electoral College votes the way it should in 2 weeks' time. The major actual big thing is the 2 Senate runoffs in Georgia happening in January. That's the really big news, because if the Democrats can win both of those seats, they have 50 votes in the Senate, and then they can get stuff through the Senate. So they'll have control of all 3 branches of the government.
Okay.
If they don't win those 2 elections in January, those runoff elections, then we're likely to see not very much passed, just because you'll have a Republican Senate.
Right, and then there won't be a sort of the rubber stamping that you get in the South African Parliament.
Well, not even that. It's very difficult to pass any legislation unless you can then get Republicans on board. The same things happened during Trump's time and Obama's time, whereby the coalitions have been such that getting anything really passed hasn't really happened. I mean, Trump had one tax cut and Obama had Obamacare. And yeah, there are regulatory votes and there's budget votes and those type of things that eventually they'll decide on. But when it comes to like major legislation and reform and things that need to change, it doesn't happen unless you can get the control of all three sections of government.
Apparently, the Republicans did quite well in the House. Is that true?
They did. They gained 5 seats. Still not enough to take control, but they did far better than expected. A lot of people, Democrats included, were expecting them to gain seats in the House, and they actually lost.
Okay. So
overall, they did better than expected, even though they lost the presidency. If you consider what some of the predictions and forecasts were going into it, they did a lot better.
a guy like me who's quite a layman, what does it mean when? So, do you know how I mean, maybe you don't know the answer to this question, but do you know how the vote looks? So you can vote Democrat all the way down the ticket. So you have your vote for the House, vote for the Senate, and vote for the presidency, or does it not work like that?
You vote for people, but they will. It changes from state to state, but you'll know which party the candidate's from.
I see. So you might be voting for the party in some states.
No.
You always vote for people.
You only ever vote for individuals. As I said, the parties are informal, but So you'll say president, and you'll have your options. I think there were 4 options for president. Then, if you happen to be having a Senate race this year in one of those states, you'd have your Senate options. Then you'd have your House options. Then you'd have all your local district elections as well for sheriff or for whatever. It's different in the states. A lot of police and judges are elected by the actual people as well. It differs from state to state.
Okay. Why is Georgia so big? What's happening there?
Because there are 2 runoff elections. It went blue for the first time since 1996. So you and I would have been like 8 or 9 years old at the time when Clinton won it. That is really big because that's where the 2 elections are happening in January. The 2 runoff seats for the election for the Senate.
Okay.
And Democrats it's currently 48 to 50. So if the Democrats win both of those, it becomes 50-50. And then the vice president, who's Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris, I should say.
Kamala Harris. Stop being a bigot.
She will cast the deciding vote, obviously, in favor. And it would be 51-50 in regards to legislation.
Yeah. Okay, I see. And do you think it's at all possible that the Electoral College doesn't actually put in these?
That wouldn't happen.
Because you did mention that it has happened once before.
No, it hasn't happened before. What's happened is individuals within the Electoral College have voted for someone that they shouldn't. It happens, I think, there were 4 or 5 votes when Trump was elected by the college. There were 4 or 5 people that refused to vote for him and voted for like random people.
But in the Republican Party?
Not in the party, in the Electoral College. So you see what actually happens. The electors are decided by people that represent the parties in the state.
Okay.
If let's say New York will go and send 29 Democrat representatives as their electors. So obviously, because they're Democrats, they're going to vote for a Democrat. But if New York happened to, let's say, vote Republican, they would send 29 Republicans from New York as their electors.
Okay.
And you're obviously more likely to then vote with your party.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Interesting. And now, just to go back a step, why is there such a... I mean, we always knew that Donald Trump, if he loses the election, he's going to throw his toys out of his cart. I mean, we did know this. What is his main... what is his case based on legally? What are the foundations of... I mean, there's no... So, but he says it's... So he says it's voter fraud, but he's talking hogwash.
He's lying. I don't know what else to say. He's lying. If it was there, we wouldn't be in the situation where we are today. I mean, you can always go and say that they're conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. But if you, as making the accusation, have to produce evidence, and no evidence has been produced.
Okay.
thrown out by courts.
But if you...
Including Republican judges, I should add.
Okay.
And even Republican governors have, in certain states, like Michigan. Michigan has a Republican governor. Not Michigan. Sorry, which state is it that he won? It was Arizona. Arizona has a Republican governor, and Biden won Arizona, and the governor certified the results because, it's not always just about your political party. At the end of the day, you are still doing a public function, and you kind of have to you have to let go of your partisanship in those circumstances, whilst the entire system's doomed.
Well, yeah, it looks very bad when a leader in a Western country tries to hold on to power because, I mean,
banana republic levels.
Yeah, you'd expect it from like a tiny South American or Asian country where you get dictators anyway, not from the United States.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you see lots of people who were living in third world countries were like, oh, this is just like our leader.
This is like our elections.
Yeah, it's like our elections.
Is the process governed by the IEC the way South Africa's is? Or is it a different?
They have it's completely different because each state has its own laws and rules.
All right.
Unlike here, where you have a federal system in South Africa, and you'll have the IEC in our circumstance come up with the rules for the election, that everyone follows it. It's completely different in the States. There are different laws that apply all over the place.
Okay.
According to what state you're in.
So I had another question about, we'll come back to South Africa, but just quickly while we're on this topic, do you think if the ANC lost power democratically that they would just happily vacate? Trick question.
I don't know. That's the honest truth. I mean, you hope so.
Does it worry you? Does it worry you that you don't know?
No, well, you don't, because you don't have anything to base it on. I'll say that. So it's hard to determine what would happen.
I'm basing it.
They've been in power since '94.
Yeah, I'm basing it on the fact that they're mostly gangsters, and it's a patronage network of money laundering criminals. But let me not let me not sparse my own opinions on Juice Ready. This is
that's some of them. Let's be honest. Some of them are exactly that. But
I'm basing it on the premier of the Free State, Ace Magashule.
The former premier to you, so.
Has he been dismissed?
No. He's still the Secretary General of the ANC, hilariously.
Sorry, I meant the Secretary General. He used to be the premier of the Free State. Okay, yes.
He was the premier.
Well, he is a criminal, and I mean, he doesn't watch Juice Ready, otherwise he can send his boys after me. But we all know this, and he needs to be in handcuffs. But we'll leave it there.
I care less about him, although I do definitely care about him. I want Zuma to go and be put in jail, man. That man, how much damage he did to this country in 8-9 years?
Oh, a lot. Yeah,
far more than anyone else.
Yeah,
because he was the head of the entire syndicate.
Although, just to stay on South African politics for a little bit, Chief Justice Mogoeng, he made a ruling the other day in the Supreme Court of Appeal, I think, which actually upheld freedom of speech, which I thought was really good, and it was the first time that
I should hope so, considering that he is the head of the Supreme Court.
Yeah, well, the judgment actually helped the one and only Julius Malema, which is obviously I'm not a fan of him, but I am a fan of freedom of speech, so I'm okay with it. It was to do with his he's been going on a few tirades lately since 2016. I mean, actually quite a lot in the last 2 months. But anyway, I don't have all the facts of that case, but it was Mogoeng. Something what got appealed at the Constitutional Court, and Mogoeng, I love that name, so I'm saying it 3 or 4 times. He allowed it, and he said, "No, look, it's part of freedom of speech." So I'm a big freedom of speech guy.
No,
I'm not into censorship and moderation. So
I must speak up for him for a second. There was a lot of fears when he was appointed by the JSC, because he is religious, and a lot of people were worried about that, about his Christian background and stuff. But he's actually been a fantastic Chief Justice. He's, as far as I can tell, in many of the rulings that I've seen and read, you can see that despite his own, you can tell where his own opinions are. He puts them aside, and it takes a lot of courage to do that, to be able to be truly impartial. So good on him.
Yeah, good for him. And I mean, he was appointed by Zuma, which makes me suspicious.
He was. That's why people were suspicious of him originally, because how many of those have turned out well?
Not very many. But I think he was a mate of Zuma, but he was the right guy for the job, which is obviously sounds like an oxymoron.
Well, not everyone is going to be bad if you're rotten.
Correct. So your enemy of the state number one is Zuma, and you say Ace Magashule is a bit of a small fry. I'm kind of
not a small fry. He probably ran the entire operation in the Free State, but he's not the one that should be prosecuted. Zuma's the one that should be in jail.
Well, you see, I mean, when you say operation, in the Free State, I'm going to correct you and say gangster patronage network. But anyway, I just think Zuma, we kicked him out of office. He's not there anymore. Ace Magashule is there. Surely we need to convict current criminals, but we can have that difference of opinion.
Zuma's still there, though. His shadow hangs over the entire country, unfortunately.
If by shadow...
The entire other faction of the ANC that fights Ramaphosa and is looking to try and throw him out is basically they're the puppets and Zuma's the puppet master.
If by shadow you mean NDZ?
No, not even shadow, just the other half of the faction of the ANC. There are two factions. One faction is pro being responsible and Ramaphosa and everything, and the other one is we're here to loot.
Well, I'm going to get you into trouble, Nick, and you don't have to answer this question. Do you think the ANC is divided amongst capitalists and communists?
Yes.
Okay.
They've always been a party that's had its more moderate members, and moderate politically, I should say. But at the same time, it's always been center-left. So, I mean, this happens in all political parties where you have your more moderates in your party and you have your more extremes.
Yeah.
It's the same here. It's the same in the States. It's the same with both of the parties. It's the same in the UK.
Right, and I'm okay with center-left, but I'm just not okay with bad ideas, which is generally what extremists have. And when you say the side of the ANC that's here to lose, would you say that you are...
Loot.
Here to loot. Okay. No, I think they're all there to loot. All right. So, I mean, South African politics does interest me a bit more because it's more local. But just going back to America quickly, and then we'll come back to South Africa because I do want to ask you about Herman Mashaba. But what do you think is... So Biden and Trump, obviously in a bit of a standoff. Is there going to be...
No, there's no standoff. Trump's out in January.
Okay. Because did you see his tweet yesterday? I should...
no, I definitely didn't.
I'll bring it up on the screen, but it's horrible. Let me read it. Oh, this is great. So I'll just put it up for the listeners as well. But it says Biden can... This was literally on the 27th, so 3 or 4 days ago. Biden can only enter the White House as president if he can prove that his ridiculous 80 million votes were not fraudulently or illegally obtained. When you see what happened
Don't get me started.
Hold on, I do want to get you started. When you see what happened in Detroit, Atlanta, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee, massive voter fraud. He's got a big unsolvable problem. Tremendous.
Burden on proof is on him, because he's the one challenging the results, the official results, And as I said, there's no evidence. If the evidence was there, we would have seen it already.
Okay, and so the challenges for this, because I do watch Dan Bongino, whatever, the conservative political commentator on Facebook and YouTube. He says there's massive voter fraud, and he's going to come and expose it. But I like watching him.
Wish him the best of luck.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? If it is there, then impartially, it should be exposed and should be dealt with.
Right.
But it is, and we all knew that these arguments and this bullshit was coming.
Okay. I mean, but we knew Trump was a crybaby already. Yeah. I suppose what else is there to really say about it? It's just, what do you think Biden's... Yeah, go for it.
It's like being shocked when the snake bites you, It's like, this was coming. He was been laying the groundworks for this argument for months, since it became clear that he couldn't win.
Okay.
And he couldn't win because of his own incompetence. If he had just handled coronavirus properly, he probably would have been re-elected.
Right. I think so too.
Unfortunately.
Also,
I hate it, but
if he didn't call Mexicans certain things and brush people with broad strokes, he probably wouldn't be called a racist, sexist, homophobic, misogynistic bigot.
But he is all those things.
I know, I know that. It's incredible to watch, and
only deny reality so long until it eventually catches up to you.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I kind of understood his appeal to the guy in a rural area who had a job at a car factory, and that factory got taken away and the jobs given to Chinese people. I kind of understood the appeal of Trump, where he came and said, okay, I'm here for you. We want to get you these jobs back. And that's why
he said that, but he didn't mean it. It was a lie. He doesn't give two shits about anyone other than himself.
I've come to realize that, but I'm saying I see the appeal. But yeah, he didn't really bring back that many jobs, or any, if any at all. Well, I'm not an expert on the stock market, so I don't really know if the stocks that were going up in
the stock market was doing great. It's been doing great for a while.
But does
so disconnected from most people?
Exactly. Does that help the middle class, or does that actually just help the?
No. There's no middle class. Or depends what you define middle class. Is it helping the vast majority of Americans? Absolutely not. And you can say that not just for them. You could say it for any country, including ours. Looking at your stock market isn't a right indicator.
No, definitely.
Going on in your country.
Definitely not.
I would say people care about.
I would say specifically not in South Africa. Okay. Well, I mean, so I think lastly on this, what do you think the Biden presidency really means for America and the world and Africa?
For Africa, absolutely no idea. We didn't hear almost anything from the campaign about Africa. But to be fair, just because China's getting so heavily involved in Africa, I mean, the way it's going, we'll probably see a lot of American engagement across Africa, especially militarily, unfortunately, in regards to ISIS and stuff happening in West Africa and in Mozambique. For America itself, well, they're so divided. At the end of the day, Trump, even though he lost, he got 43% of the vote. He got 73 million. He is the candidate with the second most votes ever. And yes, you can argue for population change and stuff, but still, enough when 70 plus million of your population looks at someone who's, I don't know, I try to be objective, but someone who's so despicable. I don't know how else to put it in that. I just repugnant. And say, yes, I'm going to vote for this guy and endorse many of the horrible things that he said and did. I think you've got major issues in your society that run far deeper than the current 4 years.
The repugnant Republican.
That reflects on us too. You look at some of our elected leaders other than Cyril. I mean, they're shameful. And yet there they are.
But is it not
a reflection of your society?
Is it not a case of people? I mean, I think a lot of people came out to vote Democrat just to be rid of Trump. Is it not a? Is it not a?
Votes were probably anti-Trump more than pro-Biden.
Right, and I mean
that's true.
I kind of felt the same way if I was an American, but because I do like some of the stuff on the center right in terms of. Just in terms of the economy, everything else I'm sort of center left, but I mean, my question is, do you not think that Trump voters just actually were rejecting the extreme far left?
Some of them maybe. I mean, if you really think that you're going to get the far left with Joe Biden, then you're not going to get anything like that from him.
Well, no, but Joe Biden opens the door for people like AOC. I'm not hating on AOC. I actually like a lot of her ideas, and we need more of that. But I think people are scared of AOC.
That's how some people view it. The whole opening doors argument. But at the end of the day, you just have to look at the climate and the political, what you want to call it, inertia, and how difficult it is to get anything passed over there. Nothing's really going to change.
Yeah. Do you think they need a change of system, like electoral?
Oh, absolutely. They desperately need to do some reforms, and through the reforms, try and, they've got so much stuff that they have to deal with in regards to all of the jobs that have been lost over the years, and those jobs that are never coming back. And how do you bring those communities, those rural communities, those semi-industrial communities back into the fold?
But there's also many jobs that are going to go away that exist right now. They're going to go away through automation.
Well, that's happening for all of us. Yeah.
Well,
exactly. That's the major challenge for all of us.
I am quite privileged. I sit in a position where I do work in automation, so I have a secure job. But I do feel for the odd truck driver. Even in 20 years' time, I feel for programmers, because programming is going to become more automated, drop and drag, ready for the consumer.
Well, I mean, look in South Africa. I mean, in a lot of places around the world, you don't have petrol attendants. It's very much a South African thing, just because so many people desperately need that, 10, 12, 15 rand an hour.
Yeah.
Just to look. I mean, if it was up to just pure market forces in South Africa, there wouldn't be petrol attendants.
Yeah.
But they are, because it's government legislated, because people need jobs. It's the same type of thing. You'll get more and more protection occurring for really big industries. Like the same thing for trucking. I don't see truckers growing anywhere in the long term, just because there's too many people employed.
What do you think about?
As a government, you can't go and have. I say that in South Africa, but you can't go and have like half of your blue-collar workforce being unemployed. It's a recipe for disaster.
Sure. I mean, whenever the money dries out in any society, there are much bigger problems. Yeah. So, Nick, what do you think about the universal basic income? You might know about Andrew Chan. If I'm saying
it's going to have to happen eventually. Yeah. If automation goes the way it's going to go, I mean, what are people going to do? There's no real. You have to. I mean, if the jobs just literally aren't there or aren't being created, and you remember we're also going to have an expanding population through the rest of the century, you're going to have to come up with some different system.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the answer, but it's going to have to be something along those lines.
How much do you think? How many rands per month do you think a universal basic income for South Africa should be?
I have no idea.
5,000.
No, well, I've got.
It's a little. It seems like a little amount.
Our circumstances are so extreme and dire that it's difficult to use us as a template. You have to look over to a model that gets developed in a first world country, because remember, essentially you're handing out money from the state, essentially, just because people can't get employment, just because of and I think that when we get to that point that the economy doesn't provide enough jobs anymore, like, it's going to cause lots of issues, because remember, at the same time, we're going to be having climate change going on. We're going to be having other viruses, because COVID is not the first. I mean, it's not the last, I should say. There are going to be all these different issues. I'm overall generally an optimist, but the century is looking very difficult.
Yeah. I do predict there'll be a COVID 2022 or a 2025 or both. By the way we are killing animals in jungles and storing mammals.
Storing wildlife,
mammals and reptiles next to birds in cages, and just viruses are mutating and jumping onto humans. Anyway, but Yeah, so UBI is coming. It's going to be a real thing, and I just hope the ANC is out of power by then because I just don't trust them to do anything with any competency without stealing all of it. Um, which brings me to my next point. What do you think about Herman Mashaba?
I have no opinion. Um, the
Oh,
problem, the problem with us, the smaller parties in South Africa, is it actually takes a lot of money and infrastructure, on the ground infrastructure and support to enable to have a political party. And I mean, the only ones that have really done successfully post '94 have been um, the EFF. The
well,
ANC,
can I
the
just say,
ANC had it established, and the DA used to be the DP.
you know that a lot of the smaller parties just can't cope.
Oh, very funny.
Sorry, sorry. Please, don't unsubscribe, guys. Don't unsubscribe. So, yeah, but I think Herman Mashaba. So, I mean, I think it's not a secret that I am. Look, I understand. While I was even talking about universal basic income because I understand where capitalism is eventually going. Half the people are going to be making money and in a fenced-off environment with helicopters and planes coming in and out, and the other half are going to be starving outside the walls, baying for blood.
That's what we have now.
Well, that is kind of what we have now, yeah. So the free market has kind of gone. I don't know. I like free market. I way prefer it to communism. I'm basing this on history and facts. I'm not basing this on nothing. I do have my detractors that disagree with me, but I like healthy debate and I appreciate other opinions. And I don't want full communism, but we do need to start deciding what we're going to do when automation wipes out, I don't know, 40% of the jobs in the market. So what Herman Mashaba for me is, it doesn't seem like any real policy. It's kind of just do it Herman's way. And so is there a reason why you just have no comment? Have you not researched him, or do you just think it's because the smaller party can't really crack it in South Africa?
I just exactly that. The last one.
Okay. I think he can. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not a.
I don't know where's he going to get votes from, and who would vote for him?
I think he's going
Because
to
at
get.
the end of the day,
I think he's going to get votes next.
well, good luck. I mean,
Yeah.
we wish him the very best. You know, if it would always be great to have a new dynamic in South African politics. Everyone's so tired of current one it is.
Well, just there's two main key aspects that he really, and I don't know really the right way to articulate, but he represents strong borders and keeping South Africa for South Africans. I know he sounds like the African Trump when he says things like that, but I think there's a huge conservative base in South Africa that he appeals to, and for now they are just the silent majority.
Well, we
And
are indeed incredibly xenophobic in South Africa.
well, I didn't want to say the Z word.
But it's
But
true.
and then also he wants to get rid of corrupt crooks, and I think a large base of the ANC vote is going to leave them. They're going to go to Herman. You'll always get your ANC voters. I kind of think that I don't want to offend anyone with this, but I think they're just mindlessly voting for ANC. They're not thinking about it. They're just doing it out of pure habit and nostalgia. But I think Herman's going to get the same. I hope he gets about the same amount of votes as the EFF.
And what fantasy world do you live, Dan?
I live in the same fantasy world as Donald Trump when he's holding onto power.
Apparently, like the EFF sits on what? Like, they're going to probably get like 10% of the vote in the next election.
I think EFF
In
gets
what
8.
world?
I think EFF gets 8, and Herman Mashaba gets around 6.
And where are they pulling those votes from? Who's he pulling
ANC,
it from?
ANC, and people that don't usually vote. There's a lot of people that don't usually vote. But let's see. Maybe I'm completely out of my mind.
I hope so, but my word, it's optimistic.
Yeah, I might be out of my mind.
Maybe I'm wrong, but you never know.
I don't know. I think so. But anyway, that's my prediction. Yeah. So I did have a last question for you, but I forgot about that now. What do you think about? Hey, say again.
We can always cover it next time.
We can cover it next time. What do you think about Malema marching in Brackenfell?
It's there. I mean, well,
You're allowed to say no comment.
They definitely had a point. I mean, if you look at as more and more about the details, the details came out. It got harder and harder to kind of even try and defend. But at the same time, let's not pretend that he gives two shits. He was doing it for his own political, for his own political means and ambitions, of just taking advantage of the whole situation. That doesn't mean that there wasn't something to be upset about, because there definitely was in regards to the situation. But he still just, it wasn't about the situation itself for the EFF. It was more about making hay and PR out of it.
Nick, is there systemic racism in Brackenfell? Yes. Was there a racist party? I don't think it was racist. But we do need to tackle systemic racism.
I think it was. I would term it as that if I had to like look at it and circumstances in which it was set up and who was invited and who wasn't invited. And yes, I know people have friendship circles, and a lot of those friendship circles will naturally revolve around racial lines and cultural lines. I get all of that.
Yeah.
But that's still something that has to be tackled, because it's those type of kids and teenagers that become racists in the future on both sides.
Yeah. And what about what do you think about I don't know, Jack, what do you think about Jack Markovitz?
Who?
Jack Markovitz, the 19-year-old blonde kid that lives in Greenpoint, part of the EFF?
No idea who you're talking about.
Okay, you need to research Jack Markovitz after this. It's actually good that you don't know, because we need to not give him any airtime on Juice Ready. He's got enough on News 24.
I have no idea who you're talking about. Never heard of him.
I'll send you a little video, Nick. I think he's a good kid, but he's a little bit misguided. But let me not give my opinion. We have experts like you to come on and talk about.
I'm not an expert. I mean, I generally lean to the center left myself, but I completely understand where people from the other side come from a lot of the time. At the end of the day, there's certain things that aren't acceptable, and that's why I'm very anti-Trump. But I can still understand where a lot of people with viewpoints from the right are coming from. I always try and walk a mile in someone else's shoes.
Jack Markovitz is definitely on the left, I would say.
No, well, he's with the EFF, so.
And he's extreme left. But let me not shit on Jack Markovitz. He's a good kid, and I think he has the right idea. I do hope he never implements his ideas, because I don't want €1 to buy 500 billion rands in South Africa, like you could in Zimbabwe about 10 years ago. Anyway, Nick, let's catch up. Let's catch up again next week, and I'm sure we'll have some more interesting tidbits for the listeners. Any last words?
No. Thank you so much, Dan, for the time and for the chat.
Thank you, Nick. Chat. The listeners have been missing you, and they said, please get Nick on as soon as you can.
Well, this time, let's hope you hit the record button. So.
No, I did record last time. That wasn't the problem.
It wasn't sound, right?
Yeah, this will be all good. This will be all good. Okay. Thank you, guys. Please give us a like. Please give us a like and a sub, and we'll see you soon on Juice Ready. Cheers.